the name of this podcast is Again for the First Time. And boy, is that singing a song right now because I get to again, for not the first time, from I don't know, a lot of times, but again for the first time, talk to goalie extraordinaire. And here's somebody who, I lived in New York forever, went out to California, and Heath Goldsmith said, I want no part of this. I'm going to finish, what I have to do here, and I'm going to go where you lived, out back to Long Island. So, and then he went to one of the teams I used to play against when I played college football, and that's Stony Brook. And Heath Goldsmith is my guest today. We're going to talk goalie, and we're going to talk about what parents should look out for, what athletes should look out for, what is a good camp, what is a good program, and some of the things you need to stay away from. No names, but you'll know who we're talking about. Anyway, Heath Goldsmith, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me. I've been obviously me and we've talked for a long time.
Yep.
First time on the podcast myself, but I've been a fan of the pod for a really long time and happy to be here.
I appreciate that very much. First of all, how's the season going? Or how'd the season go? How the teammates? How the boys? How's the rink? Tell me everything because I've never gone to a game, a high ice hockey game at Stony Brook.
Yeah, we got to change that for sure. We'll have you out to a
Yes,
game next year for sure. Yeah.
please.
Yeah, no. Our season was better than last season. We brought in a bunch of new guys, bunch of new I think we brought in like 14 or 15 guys
Nice.
over the last year. So a lot of new faces coming in the locker room this year. Probably one of the closest teams I've ever been on. It was ups and downs, kind of learning curves. Obviously the freshmen were learning how,
Hmm.
that this is very much so quick style hockey. It's rough. It's not juniors anymore. Everyone is that top line junior guy that
Exactly.
plays. Yeah, so it's kind of that learning curve. So the first half of the year wasn't our best, but we went on a few runs, and then towards the end of the year, kind of heated up, but ended up losing in the playoffs. And yeah, so it wasn't where we wanted to end up, but next year we're playing the ACCHL, which will be really exciting, and we're looking forward to that opportunity.
That's excellent. And go Seawolves, man. I'm a big, big fan. So, you mentioned junior hockey, and you had a nice career in junior hocky.
I
Played for
appreciate
some
that.
really, no, it's just the truth. There's some great teams, and for those who don't know, I mean, I used to be in charge of hockey operations for the Fresno Monsters, and so I had was privileged to see Heath play, and both for us and against us, and thankfully for us. And what would you say is the biggest difference between college hockey and junior hockey?
The competition level it's all the top line guys.
Right.
The Fresno, your Fresno fans will obviously remember the Meraldos and all
Oh
those
yeah.
guys. Those are the kind of guys you're facing on a night in and night out basis, and that's kind of the difference is you don't just have one or two lines you can roll with. You kind of roll
Hmm.
four. I was very gifted when I was on that Fresno team that we really did have four lines to roll. We were
Yep.
it's not often you get to be on a team where you have four lines roll and all 6D play and you have confidence in all of them and you really don't have a weak link.
Right.
So that Fresno for the Fresno Monsters that year was probably the closest thing that I've come to be college hockey level.
Right.
And so that's kind of the biggest difference is everyone is that size. Everyone's the speedy, quick, strong. It's basically like you go up another level. It's like you're going
Mm.
from, juniors to, junior B to junior A. It's like it's just kind
Yep.
of how that works. So
So tell me a little bit about off season. Let's kind of segue into as a goalie. Uh,
yeah.
you know, so first of all, I have to. I'm going to be all over the map, but first of all, when, in your opinion, if you are a goalie, you're a young goalie. Let's start there before I get into your off season because this is a question I wanted to ask you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, nowadays they're like, you need to pick your sport and stay with it. And then there's the people say, you know what, when you're young, play a bunch of sports. It helps different parts of the body and this and that. Walk me through your journey. Did you play multiple sports and when did you figure out I want to play goalie?
Yeah, I did actually. I played multiple sports. Growing up, I played soccer. I played forward in soccer and goaltender in soccer. So I've
Mm.
always had kind of that goalie background. Did that until I was about 12-ish. And then I moved to Las Vegas, from California, from Fresno
Mm.
to Las Vegas, and then I decided to take up golf in a more
Oh,
serious
nice.
manner. Yeah. Kind of went with golf and hockey there for a few years, and then going into high school was when I kind of turned the switch to be like, hey, this is the sport that I want to play in, as in hockey. So I definitely grew up playing more than one sport. I definitely think that kids should do that. They shouldn't just be forced into one sport and be like, this is what you should do. Because you never know what you may like. You know, you should really try everything if you can. If you have the resources to try it, you should. Obviously, hockey is a very, very expensive sport.
Yeah,
We
sure.
we all know that, and it's something that's kind of a big problem right now is how expensive it actually is. So I mean, hockey's kind of another story of trying it, but you know, if you love the game, there will be resources for you to at least try it. But I firmly believe that kids growing up should definitely try more than one sport.
Yeah, I mean, my thought was, and I coached Division 3 football. I coached Division 1 softball. I mean, full paid,
Hmm.
full paid scholarships and everything else. And just recently, before I moved to Cape Cod, Massachusetts, was the head coach of a softball team, a high school softball team. And I would tell everybody, do not just play one sport, especially when you're young. Even
Yeah,
from a selfish point of, you're going to burn the kid out. There's going to come a time they're just going to want to
yeah,
walk away, or there's going to be repetitive sport injury because they're using the same muscle groups 12 months out of the year. And just have some fun. And I
yeah,
think you hit it right on the head. Right around high school is when you make that choice,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of dual sport athletes, that make a decision kind of in high school, or even play two sports in high school and then make that decision going into college. I mean, I guess it's better to have that option to be kind of recruited in two separate areas, but also, it just kind of depends on you, right? Like if you want to
Right.
play one sport and you want to play one sport, you should give your all to it at that point. That's when you can really streamline focus on one or the other. So I think that, kind of around high school is when kids should kind of start picking and choosing what they do.
So I mean, I know your dad is a coach,
Hmm.
and we're going to talk a little bit about something that you both will be doing in a collaborative effort. But tell me about a coach that you had when you were younger that kind of helped shape your mindset and your willingness to play the position that you do, because it's not easy.
No, it's not. And outside of my dad, obviously, it would probably be my good friend Blake Weirick. I talked to him. I talked to him on a weekly basis. He played for the U.S. National Development Team with Austin
Mm.
Matthews and a bunch of those other guys, and played D1 college hockey. And so he was really that guy that I went to, when I had questions and things like that. A California kid, grew up in LA, so he was very instrumental in my game. He still is to this day. We'll be on the phone for hours talking about my game, his
Mm.
game, where we're both feeling that our games are at, where we need to improve, things like that. And it's such a good resource to have that kind of guy to go to. So I would have to say it would be him that really had a big impact on where I'm at today.
You know, your dad, definitely me, but your dad, I don't know how old he is, but just, it doesn't really matter. But he's seen a big change, right? I mean,
Hmm.
but you're believing at that age where there's a big change as well of different things are happening. I mean, nobody stacks the pads anymore, but that was a big
Hmm.
thing that they used to do, and they used to teach that. And you were coming along, sort of when that all that whole change started to happen, where, I mean, you would always butterfly, but there's always the quickness. What, it, how have you changed the way that you, prepare and train? I mean, you're still quite young, but I mean, you're seasoned young, if you know what I mean. I mean, you've been
Yeah.
playing for a long, long time.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely elements of my game that are a little more old school than some others. I like to play that athletic style of goaltending that really is that I like to call it the Jonathan Quick, but as years have kind of progressed, it's kind of become that more like UC Soros, Dustin
Hmm.
Wolf kind of style where They're not the biggest guys in the world. They don't, but they use their athleticism, they use their quickness, they do anything to stop the puck. And I think that that's kind of something that a lot of guys have gotten rid of. They've gone to that blocky, like you said, butterfly style. Everything is
Hmm.
dropping right away. It's not really reading and reacting situations. So for me, it's been really trying to stay true to my game while
Right.
also, learning and using the new tools of the butterfly and the things like that that obviously, these bigger goalies get away with is just dropping and covering net. Not everyone is 6'6" and can do that, right?
Right.
So
Right.
it's definitely whenever I'm thinking about myself or anyone else, I kind of tailor it to what are your assets? What is in your toolbox that you can use to make this save
I
look
love that. I love
easier?
that.
So it's not just cookie cutter, this is one way or the other. So it's definitely trying to figure out what's in your toolbox and what's the best tool to use.
So now I'm going to ask you more of a philosophy question,
Okay.
or a philosophical question when it comes to playing your position.
Hmm.
There used to be this, hey, I have to defend the goal. Well, I've seen goalies kind of get more offensive. Like, I'm going to shut this piece down. The person with the puck's going to have to go do this and kind of put them on defense. Do you play
Hmm.
those mental games with, hey, I'm going to fake that, I'm going to give him this or that? Well, what's your philosophy without giving too much away?
Yeah, without giving too much away, I mean, I think that that's kind of where the game has gone, right? It's kind of gone to that, that game of chicken, who's going to make the
Right.
first move first.
I love that. Yep.
You got Connor McDavid coming down on you. I think you're gonna second guess a few decisions, right?
Right.
Even the best in the world do that. But I mean, it's more of just kind of that cat and mouse, who's gonna make the move first. I've noticed in my watching lots of hockey and talking to goalies that typically the more patient you are, the better chance you are to make a good save on the puck and make it look easy. The less patient you are, you're going to be you could make it look really, really good and make
Hmm.
a huge scramble save, but it's most likely because you're out of position because
Right.
you got anxious and you made a move. So when you find that happy medium in there, I think that's kind of where you gotta live.
True. True that. Um, were you a chirper? I mean, are you a chirper?
Not really. I mean, I'm more in like practice or something like that, joking around with the guys,
Mhm.
miss the net 7 feet wide, you kind of give them a hard time. But
Right.
during games, I'm pretty I'm pretty locked in. I'm not really focused on throwing out the chirps. I know a couple of my goalie partners in years past have been that way.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm not that way though.
I seem to remember you routine focused though. You have rituals that you would do, your own little kind of thing, and
Yes.
a lot of goalies have that, which is a great thing. But
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Pre-game, it's meditation, it's listening
mm,
to ocean sounds, it's kind of getting that mental headspace, same thing when I'm on the ice, just kind
mm.
of skate to my corner, tap the boards 3 times, come back. I
Yeah,
mean, it's
that's I didn't want to say it, but that was
yeah,
it.
it's
That
those
was it.
little it's those little things that I've done for my entire career that,
Hmm.
I call it the goalie walk. I mean, you watch any goalie, they do something to that effect. They do
Right.
something that they do every time repetitive, and that was just kind of my thing. So, yeah, for sure.
So I want to get into HG goaltending in a second, but
Hmm.
this is something I've talked to many athletes about because it's important to me anyway. I've talked to people in the pros, people at the junior level, people even younger at high school level. Talk to me about the sanctity of the bus, that bus trip. I mean, it's just you miss that, don't you? When you, even off season, right? You're like, oh, can't wait to get back on the bus with the guys.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the bus trip is something that it's it can either be something that you have a lot of fun with, or it can be something that you really don't. There's no in between with it.
True that.
I mean, there's some bus trips. I know we took one up to Ohio that was a 13-hour bus trip this year.
Mm,
Got off the bus, got at the. I think we went right to the rink that one.
right.
And got on the ice for a morning skate. That was kind of brutal.
Yeah. And
But I
smelly,
mean,
I'm sure.
yes, yeah, but it was fun. I mean, the bus trips are definitely something that you kind of that especially that last bus trip of the year where you got all, especially for me with seniors graduating and things like that, and some of my closest friends graduating and not coming back next year and things like that. You kind of go back and you kind of sit with them and you talk with them and you're kind of reminisce on the on that year and on that relationship, because that's not going to be there the next year, right? So it's kind of the same thing with like junior age outs. That last road trip you take with the
Yes.
boys, you sit there, you talk to them about it, those kinds of things. You kind of reminisce because you're not going to really see them too much anymore. So at least for a while until you're done with your playing career, and then you have the reunions and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that the bus, it's really a nice thing to kind of relax and talk to the guys, have fun, especially if you sweep a team on a weekend and you have fun
Oh,
on the
how
way
good is
back.
that?
Oh,
Yep.
it's so nice. We went to New York last year and got a win in that game at the end. I did, and it was just a fun bus trip back because you're driving through the city. You just played NYU, you're just kind of checking out the town
How
as you're
great is
driving
that?
through.
Come on.
Oh, it's so nice. It's so nice. Traffic was bad, but we didn't even care at
Right.
that
You don't
point. You
care.
got the win, and you're talking with the boys, and so it's just nice. It really is nice at times.
Stony Brook will always have a special place, to me for a couple of reasons. One, I mentioned, we used to play against them, and the first person I played against that ever went pro played for Stony Brook. He was a running back for Stony Brook named Dennis Blajan.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually tackled him when I was playing on special teams one time, so that's kind of cool. Um, and second of all, my two children were born at Stony Brook Hospital, right on your campus.
Okay, yeah,
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 that's kind of
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Um,
Very cool.
so tell me about HG goaltending.
Yeah, so this is kind of a thing that's been a work in progress for the last few years. Myself and my other goalie coach, Scott Goldsmith, who's also my dad. He's been coaching goalies obviously for 10 years, over 10 years now. I've been coaching for probably 5 or 6 years now. Obviously in high school, you kind of go out and you do camps to help kids and things like that. And that's where I just really grew a love for coaching. And it kind of just sparked and spiraled from there. I got a couple of clients through there and started working with them. And one of them is actually out playing AAA hockey in
Oh,
Minnesota
that's
right
great.
now.
That's
Which
real deal right there.
it's there's that's no small task to play even
Nope.
AA hockey out there in Minnesota. So that's kind of a proud coaching moment. Even, hey, I could say I took credit for some of that at least.
And you should.
Yeah, but yeah, and I coach a couple kids out in California and stuff like that. So it's been a work in progress. It's kind of me and my dad kind of sat down this year and said, "Hey, let's kind of make this a formal thing and kind of go from there." And it's something that me and him have definitely been talking about doing for a long time, kind of making it that formal feel to it. So it's exciting.
No, it's going to be based out of Vegas, right?
Yes, it will be based out of
How
Las
great is
Vegas.
that?
Yeah, yeah, it'll be, that it's something that me and my dad talked about, and running a camp out of there and running our coaches out of there is just obviously that's where we're from and that's the easiest place to run out of, but also it's a hub for if you want to run a goalie camp and you have kids come in from California or Arizona or whatnot, their family can go and have fun. And their parents can come in and have fun. Drop the kids off at the rink and kind of leave them for the day and go to Red Rock that's right across the street
Oh yeah.
from CNA, and have days to themselves. So it's kind of that hub of like you can really kind of get away with having those outings as a family afterwards too.
I mean, Heath and I lived out in California for a long time, and people, here's what you don't understand. Vegas, in a lot of ways, is just a suburb of California.
True.
It's a straight run from Vegas, from LA. It's a straight run from Fresno. I mean,
Yeah.
go through Bakersfield. Uh,
Yeah.
it's just a wonderful location. Airports in and out, right on the strip. So I think it's tremendous that you have that location, and
Yeah.
that really bleeds into my next question. And I write about this, I talk about this, I communicate with this with a lot of mostly major league ball players about this, but the scammy, camps that are out there and the, buyer beware, caveat emptor kind of people that, overpromise and underdeliver, but that you do get this really neat T-shirt, and
Yeah.
Talk about the what people should look out for.
Yeah, no, for sure. Without saying names, obviously, there are camps that come to mind that are very highly touted camps. Whether that even be for skaters and things like that, that just don't live up to the hype. You're paying a
Hmm.
bunch of money for the name.
Yep.
They're kind of scrambling for things at last minute. Sometimes the ice that you are told you're gonna get, you really don't get. They'll tell you you're gonna get 2.5 hours in a weekend, and you get, an hour and a half.
Right.
I mean, it's just those little things that kind of are red flags, but you really can't tell until you get there, right? It's hard. I mean, I think a lot of the coaches and camps that are out there nowadays, with ice costs going so high, camps are going to become more expensive. That's just
Mm.
how it's going to be. I know that
Yep.
out here, um, I know ice costs are like $650 an hour, which is
Right.
insane.
Yep. Crazy.
In Vegas, it's pretty equal to that at this point. So I mean, camps are going to start increasing cost, but at the same time, what does that camp give you is the question. Is it just they give you a jersey and they give you ice time? What kind of coaches are they going to have there? Are they going to have the
Right.
experience to back it up? Are they going to have the coaches that played college or coached college or have coached for a long time? You don't have to coach college or even have played in college to be a great coach. That's
That's right.
something that I've learned. Some of the best coaches that I've had in my career never played college hockey.
Right.
You don't have to play college hockey. You don't even have to play junior hockey to be a great coach. Some people just have it, right?
Yep.
Some people just have great coaching mindsets and great ways to kind of get through to kids, and those are the best coaches you can have. So I mean, a lot of it kind of that I look at is when I'm, examining camps and kind of looking at it is who are they having coach this?
Hmm.
Is it they're just going and getting a bunch of high school kids from the, high school league to come in and coach it? Are they traveling their coaches there? Are they bringing in guest speakers? Are they having even lectures and things like that?
That
Yeah,
piece is so important. The guest speaker who's
yep,
going to maybe answer some questions
yep.
instead of that high school kid. When you
No
see,
offense, no
no,
offense
yeah,
to the
no,
high school
here,
kid,
no,
but yeah,
they can help, but
yeah,
and they're great, and some of them are really care and they're passionate. But
yeah,
here are my three warning signs for me: when they promise you the T-shirt, or they promise you a photo. Yeah,
yes,
or they talk about how you get a hot dog or something like that. And I'm talking about not just 7-year-olds. I've seen this 14, 15, and it's just a bunch of
yeah.
high school kids with no structure. That's the piece. When they're just out there skating with no structure, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that's definitely something that I've seen guest coaching at camps and things like that, where there isn't that structure where you show up and you're expecting to be this guest coach, and
Hmm.
then they go, "Hey, what are you going to coach the kids today?" And you go, "Okay, so I'm in charge of this part. Got it."
Right.
And then sometimes you can really, depending on the group you have, you can really make that good, or it goes to something where you're like, "Okay, I have to kind of learn the group before I can do this."
Oh yeah.
But it's definitely something where if the coaching staff that's running it doesn't have a plan of action to start the camp, you kind of have an issue. I've seen that as someone who's attended these camps as a player and who's attended these camps as a coach. I've seen both sides of it, and I will say that quite a bit of the time these coaches don't have the plan in place until right before you step on the ice, which in my eyes is unacceptable.
No, it's definitely unacceptable, and it's sad. It's a money grab, and
Yeah,
as you said, it is not cheap. And
no,
so yeah, and I'm sorry, a camp. I mean, camps should be structured toward the age and the ability of the kids that are being presented. It's just important. Failure to do that is just it's a sad state of events. And
it is.
I see it a lot in baseball, travel
Yeah.
baseball, worse than any other sport. There's an
Yep.
old saying that said, "Hey, do you want to know who's batting 3, 4, and 5?" And it's the coach's kids. You know,
Yep.
and it just seems to happen that way. So you really can't get away with that too much. in a game like hockey because the physicality of it, the fact of the skill session, and this and that. What is the biggest mistake you think young goaltenders make?
I think that Connor Hellebuck kind of broke this down, and he talks about it all the time. Is changing your game too much.
Hmm.
Your meat and your potatoes of your game is never going to change. I
Right.
don't care who you are. I don't care who you get coached by. The meat and the potatoes of your game is not going to change. What's going to
Right.
change is, you know, maybe how you stand, how your positioning is, but whatever makes you the most comfortable in the net is should not change. It's the
Hmm.
co what coaches tend to do is they tend to try to make you images of themselves.
Right.
And that's the worst thing that you can do as a young goalie is I've always gone when I go into these camps as a player, I go in with the attitude of take what you can and leave the rest,
Yep.
take what you need and leave the rest. And I think that a lot of not only just the parents side of it, but also the kids, they want to become these guys. They want to emulate them so much that they may lose their game that got them to the level that they were at
Hmm.
before they went into these camps, before they went into the coaching and the one-on-one sessions and those kinds of things. Sometimes you can lose that a bit. And so where I come in is, I kind of think of it as take what you can and leave the rest. I think
Right.
that's my number one message to young goaltenders, to young athletes in general.
You know, you tripped upon something maybe, if I could use that terminology, that I want to kind of pursue because
Hmm.
these camps, they don't you don't have a lot of time. So
Yeah.
there are things you need to focus on.
Hmm.
But the skull sessions that say, hey, here's how you handle a game or post game after you get pumped 5-0. Here's how you handle a 3-game losing streak. You don't just yell and say, hey, you better do better next time. Like, where did you learn that? Where did you learn those soft skills, which are really hard to learn? Like how to overcome it, put it in its perspective, all of that stuff. Because I think the camp or the organization that can kind of breed that in that. And I'm looking at some of what you guys have here. I have it right in front of me, kids. You kind of speak to that stuff a little bit, get into that cerebral aspect of it.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that because that's important. Building strength, power, mobility, development, neutral pathways. I mean, it's
Yeah.
important. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, it's something that my dad has been really big on it for years. It's been that kind of you have to know who your audience is. You have to know who you're who you're coaching. I mean, what is their story for a little
Hmm.
bit? Like before I coach anyone, I typically try to sit down if I'm, coaching goalies and I'll meet him in the locker room and I'll talk to him for a minute, get to know the kid behind the on ice because then you kind of learn, okay, this kid is going to learn in this way a little better. This kid is, maybe he's a little, you kind of ask him certain questions that may lead you down a path of, hey, this guy's maybe a little bit, this guy gets frustrated easy. This guy doesn't. This guy really wants to learn. This guy is kind of just here because his parents made him come.
Hmm.
And my goal,
It's true.
there's always
It's
that
true.
one,
It's
there's
true.
always
That's why
that
I'm
one or
laughing.
there's always that one or two kids that is like, I don't want to be here. I want to be out on a beach somewhere or running around at Disneyland. And
Mm-hmm.
my goal is to always make that kid leave that camp wanting to come back next year,
Right.
right? And make that camp become their Disneyland, right? So it's just kind of that whole thing of just trying to learn who you're talking to, and that nurturing side. Obviously, you have to be hard on the kids you're coaching, but at the
Oh, yeah.
same time, they're still kids. Like even college guys shouldn't get yelled at every single game, every single time they come off the ice. If it's a loss, if they've lost a few in a row, there's a time, there's a place. And I think that especially at camps, that's not the time or the place.
Yep.
Obviously, if someone's acting out or something like that, or something that may take a little bit of a turn of, hey, come on, get in line, let's get going here,
Right.
let's get back to the business. We'll let you have fun in a bit. That's kind of the things that, like, you have to reel them back in, but at the same time, you have to have the fun. And
Oh, yeah.
when they're not having fun, is why are you here? Like, and goaltending in general. sports in general, but goalies specifically, they have to deal with a mental battle game in and
Well,
game
that's
out.
the piece. I mean,
Yeah.
it's you guys have to be. It's tough. I'm serious. You and
Hmm.
field goal kickers.
Yeah.
We it's really similar.
Yeah,
Like how do you deal with it?
yeah, you either get all the praise or all the hate. There's nowhere to hide. You can, as a player, you can have a bad shift, you can go and you can change and you can kind of hide in the bench, right? For a goalie, you make a mistake, you got, at times, a couple thousand fans watching you play, and they're all looking at you like, what are you doing?
Right.
And for me, it's always been, I don't care what they think. I'm gonna
Good for you. Good
do,
for you. Good for you.
yeah, I'm gonna do. It wasn't always that way, but especially playing against the Fresno Monsters, when I did there, and then playing for them, you kind of got the both sides of the thing. You were
Right.
getting hated, and then
Yeah.
when you come in and you play for them, they love you, right? So
Right.
you got to kind of understand that these fans are passionate. A lot of fans are passionate for that matter, and so
Mm.
they're gonna say things that they don't really mean, but that
Right.
they're trying to get under your skin, right?
Yep.
So like obviously goalies you have to be able to understand when you made the mistake. That's something that's key for you, but you don't ever take it out on your teammates if it's their fault. You don't ever, blame your coaches. You don't ever you don't do those things. You become the all pro and
Hmm.
you take a deep breath and you wait for the next puck to come and hit you. I mean,
Right.
that's what you do. I mean, and that's honestly what you have to do, and that's what separates the great goalies from the good goalies from the subpar goalies is that level of mental. It's honestly it's 90% mental, about 10% physical at times. Especially when you get to a level of, juniors or even college, you're there because the coaching staff knows you can play at that point.
Oh yeah.
And so it's the mental side that you sometimes have to keep in check. You have to keep the confidence high. It's those kinds of things that you have to kind of keep in check for sure.
So I got one question before I kind of want to wrap up and then how people can reach out and join up with HG Goaltending. And the question is, in the old days, the old stereotypical, hey, this person may not be the most athletic. Let's put him in net and hope that works out.
Hmm.
That's dead and buried, thank goodness. At least in my world that I look at. What do you say to the kid who says, "Hey Heath, what should I do? I live, in an area that it doesn't get a lot of snow. I don't have a lot of money to get on the ice a lot,
Yeah.
so I can't play outdoors for free. What can I do to make myself better?"
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing about hockey, right? We have to rent the ice or get on the ice.
Mhm.
We can't just go to a football field and throw on the ball to get better,
Right.
right? So I mean, for those kids who, maybe don't have all the resources, and like we talked about, hockey is a very expensive sport. It's not
Mhm.
cheap. I would recommend, you use whatever tools you have. Tennis balls are great. You could throw them against the wall, work on your eye hand. You get
Mhm.
racket balls. You go from tennis to racket to lacrosse balls. You kind of work your way up. You grab your glove if you have one, and you just kind of throw it in off the wall, catch it, really
Right.
watch it in. Those kinds of things will take your game to the next level. They will. You work on your mental side. You do meditations. You do
Mhm.
yogas. You get your body in the right way so that when you do go step on the ice, you can take advantage of those limited minutes you have on the ice. That's kind of a lot of goaltending is off ice stuff. It's a lot of being in the gym, working out, keeping your cardio high, just really getting down to the meat and the potatoes of it. I mean, that's really what it is. It's can you, is your eye-hand coordination good? If it's not, let's work on it.
Right.
Throw a ball against the wall, watch it, catch it in. You could do that with different colored, tennis balls and things like that, where, you have someone behind you, throw it off the wall, and you're close-ish to the wall, and you just kind of you say the color as it's coming in, and
Right.
that
I
works your
love
brain.
that.
Yeah, it works your brain. It gets your eyes going. It gets your hands going. It can really kind of get you in that set of mind frame when you get on the ice that, hey, I'm seeing that puck come in, and you really watch it come in. And I mean, those are just the little things you can do. that you don't need any real money for. Tennis balls aren't crazy expensive. Worst comes to worst, you could always color a tennis ball in
Oh
with
yeah.
another different color if you don't want to get a different color. You can draw numbers on them and say the numbers as you see them come in. Just little things like that would be my recommendation for sure.
So where do you guys play out of? Is it Icelandia? Where are you guys these days?
We play out of the rinks in
Of the
Hauppauge.
rinks, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I used to
yeah.
live.
So
Used to live right near
yeah,
there.
yeah. So we play out of there. Unfortunately, we don't have a rink on campus yet.
Yep.
We were supposed to in 2016 have one built. But unfortunately, the guy who put all the money forward for that ended up passing away. And so the school decided to build a student center in his honor, and it really doesn't get used very much. So
No, because it's
uh,
supposed to be an ice rink.
it's supposed to be an ice rink. So, yeah, so we're working towards that right now, and we're working towards an uphill battle for that. But as of right now, we play at the rinks in Hauppauge.
Yeah, rinks is nice. I
It
mean, it's
is. It's
yeah.
it just went under a couple $1 million renovation recently too. So, we're really fortunate to be able to play out of there, and obviously we have a really nice locker room and a state of the
Mm.
art locker room that we have a new players lounge that we built this year. I mean, it's really nice. So yeah, we really appreciate it for sure.
Bobby Nystrom still own that? Is he part of that still or no?
Yeah, yeah, Bob
See, I
still,
told.
but
Come
yep,
on, come
yep,
on.
yep. Yeah, no, for sure. He's the guy there. He's the guy you talk to for anything to happen. So yeah, definitely think he still owns PAL too.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, so
Just
yeah.
walking around with his four Stanley Cup rings. I mean,
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much. Yeah.
I love everything about that. So, here's the deal. Um, LA kid moves to Vegas for a while, and now you're in New York.
Yep.
New York pizza, overrated, underrated. We like it. How do you like it? Like deep dish? You like the slice? What do you like on it? Talk to me.
I like the slice. I got to be honest with you.
I love the slice. Yeah.
Nothing can beat a classic cheese or pepperoni pizza though. Nothing can
Right.
beat that. I don't think it's overrated, but it's definitely I think it's good. I think it's rated pretty well.
Yeah.
Going from New York to Vegas, sometimes you can get a really good slice of pizza in Vegas, but
Oh,
it's kind of
absolutely.
there's definitely a difference. There's
So,
definitely a difference.
so to the person who is watching us or and listening, they're aware of In-N-Out. They're aware of a Whataburger. They're aware of a lot of things. They're not aware of White Castle. Explain the White Castle experience.
The White Castle experience. Oh
And
boy.
listen, I'll be the one to say this. It's a 3 a.m. get yourself sober kind of place, but
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting. I would say the best word to describe it is interesting. There are White Castles in Vegas. There's only a couple out here that I know of.
mhm.
It's definitely like I would say it's a 3 a.m. kind of, I want this and I'm gonna do it
It's
now
open.
and yeah, it's open and I don't know if I'm gonna regret it in the morning, but I might. I
You
think that
probably will. You
it
probably
probably
will.
probably will. It's not bad food. Not bad food.
Yeah, it's the first food you ever will have that's a square hamburger with three holes in it and cooked on top of onions. And you're like, is this really beef? I don't know. But but you're really hungry.
You love it in the moment. You love it
That's
in the moment. That's for
the
sure.
moment, yes. So somebody wants to find out more about HG goaltending and or get in touch with you or talk, anything. Talk to us. How do we do that?
Yeah, so they would email hggoaltending@gmail.com. That would be the best way to get in touch with us. We are working, like I told you before we started this show. We are working on a goalie camp right now for this summer. It will be a really good goalie camp, not only on ice, but we're also working with a off ice place to get off ice training so that these goalies can go in and get the full experience.
That's great.
Maybe even learn some things about the nutrition side and things like that. And we're working on some guest speakers to come in and talk to these kids about goaltending, and I will be talking to them and so. Assuming everything goes through, and I'm sure it will. Obviously, there's a lot of
Speak
ups
it
and
into
downs, and
existence.
yeah, we got to speak it into existence here. We're working out all the kinks and all the details for it, but assuming everything goes the way we expect it to, we will be having that camp this summer. We're looking about midsummer for that, and we're really excited. It's something that me and my dad both kind of sat down and looked at each other and said, none of these goalie camps have X, Y, and Z, and we want to take this one and do it and make these parents' money go the distance. We really
Yep.
do. We don't want to just take the money and run with it. We want what we want to have happen is goalies that want to come back every single summer and
Yep.
us to be able to run camps every single summer and have the same faces come out plus new faces. And
Mm,
we want to know these kids by name at the end of the day, right?
that's
Hey,
excellent.
and so it's an experience. We're really excited, and we're excited to get this thing off the ground and kind of get it out to the public and see what goes.
Heath Goldsmith, you're a wonderful person, a wonderful advocate for goaltending, and a wonderful ambassador for the sport of hockey. Thank you for being my guest today.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Be well.
Thank you.